All right, looks like we're live, everyone. Sorry about the delay. We're trying to get Nolan on. We'll see if we can get that figured out. As an ad plays in the background. We'll see if we can get that figured out at some point during the show and have him on because his information is very good, as you guys saw the last time he was on. So we got a 5-game slate, and it's actually pretty difficult if you're making limited lineups. At least from talking to some people, I think that that's kind of the general feeling. Pretty tough slate for only 5 games. I don't know that there's like a smash chalk spot or anything like that. So I kind of like slates like that, especially when you're talking about MME. I think, yeah, I think ownership's going to be pretty spread out. So I'm excited to play. There are a few spots I like quite a bit, and I think, yeah, should set up for a pretty fun slate. So if I look a little bit distracted, it's probably because I'm trying to figure stuff out with Nolan and try to get him to jump on here. So I don't know if he's going to come on. Hopefully he does. If not, you can always check out his NHL lineup changes article that is out. I'll post that in the chat right now. You can read my free stacks article. Chris Wassel wrote up the power plays early this morning. He had those out bright and early. As far as other like housekeeping stuff, we have the promo code is Cyber Monday. This promo code right here, Cyber Year, gets you 12 months at Osmo.com, all access premium for the price of 10 months. So you save 120 bucks. It is a very good deal. If you are on the fence, this should put you over, and come join us. You get access to the premium chat, the lineup builder, what else? Osmos rankings, my projections, all the stuff you see basically. Fantasy Cruncher is not included, but at least for this promo code. Quick victory lap for the Sane Martinook stack the other night. Yeah, that was awesome. I saw you up there, Matt. I had 3 in the top 10. I looked at it after the Saturday show. You get access to my DM. Yep, that's true, Bobby. I don't know how good that is. That might be a deterrent for some people. But yeah, if you want to DM me, ask me about stuff, about life, sure. I'm pretty young, so I don't have a lot to offer in the life category, but I know how to play DFS at least. Came in third in the $3. Ice it. Nice. On FanDuel, I'm assuming, or is it DraftKings? I don't. Does DK have a $3? I guess they're on that sniper. That's a $3. I don't know what they're doing with the contest. They made them too small today. Once again, what's new here? DK 20 max. Nice. Yeah, glad to see you're having some success. All right, so probably just gonna have to get into it now. We've got an NBA show after this. I think there's 7 games on the slate. Adam Laffey will break it down. So if you came for the NBA show, you gotta wait about 45 minutes. I will make sure to get off before 5 Eastern so that they have enough room to operate, because NBA obviously takes priority. We love NHL, but it feels like we can go through it pretty quick, especially with 5 games. So I'm going to be off a few minutes before 5 Eastern. Don't want to take up any of their time. They are obviously very good at what they do. Let's see. Okay. Looks like we're probably not getting Nolan on this show. Good old Microsoft not giving us the assist there. But anyways, it'll be me alone. Hopefully we'll figure this stuff out with Nolan. I think he's scheduled to come on Friday. It'll be Steve and I tomorrow. Probably just me on Wednesday. Maybe Nolan on Wednesday. And then Steve Thursday, as always. You guys get your homework please fix. You'll get a lot of me. So hope you enjoy hearing my voice, or not. 3 shows. They have 3 shows? No, they have 2 shows. I'm queuing this week. Okay, Bobby. Boom says I'm queuing this week. Are there any good queues this week? I have a couple tickets, or maybe 1 or 2 tickets to the $300 queue, so I'll try to fire that up. But who knows about direct buy-ins? We'll see. We'll see how desperate I get. Trying not to pour in too much money to the queue, at least this year. I'm just trying to grind out some profit in some other tourneys. Do I have the stacks? Do I have my matchup stuff up? All right, let's close that. There we go. All right, let's go through this slate. 5 games. We'll mess around with Cruncher or whatever. Afterwards, lineup builder. We can do some Josh stacks, although there's not really a ton of Josh stack spots that I'm really interested in. But maybe we can mess around with it and find one we like. Boston and Toronto, we have 2.8 implied total for the Bruins, 3.2 for the Maple Leafs. Yaroslav Halak going up against Freddie Anderson. In this one, we've got pretty clear line matching going on. Toronto is going with Tavares versus top competition at home. So they're going to see a lot of Boston 1 with Marchand, Forsberg, Carlson, and David Pastrnak. Without Bergeron, the Boston 1 line is playing much higher event, at least in their own end. They gave up another 8 scoring chances and 5 high danger chances at 5-on-5 in their last game against the Canadiens. So, they're just not the same defensive line. You lose Bergeron, again, one of the best two-way players in the entire NHL. It's going to hurt. You're not going to be as stout defensively. So I really like Toronto 1 here. Tavares, Marner, and Zach Hyman. I mean, you can leave Zach Hyman off if you want. He's priced at an okay spot. I mean, 4,100. I'm not just Xing him out. So there's my Zach Hyman take. Really do like this Toronto top line at home in what I expect to be a high event matchup. Kind of off Boston 1 here. They're cheap enough where I think you can use them, but the Leafs actually don't come up for me as a poor defensive team at all. I don't really like to target them, and especially with no Bergeron on that top line, they're not going to be as good offensively either. So if I'm going to a Boston line, it's probably just diving into that second line, Krejci, Heinen, and DeBrusk, and that's going to be the extent of my Boston exposure. They're going to get a better even strength matchup with Kadri, Marleau, Kapanen, who gives up what they take. And the Kadri line is fine, but I just much prefer Tavares, Marner, and Hyman. That's going to be one of my highest owned lines on the night, I think, now that I've played around with Cruncher for a bit for tonight's slate. On defense, we've got Morgan Rielly still priced up at 6,500. I think I would agree with Osmo here. He is a B points grade. I'd have him somewhere in the A-B range for defenseman. Not a great value, but if you can fit him and you want to go with like Tavares, Marner, and Rielly, I think that's a perfectly fine option. He's not unplayable at all for 6,500. And then on the Boston side, I really want Torrey Krug. If you're going to really either of the top 2 lines, he's just the best defenseman for DFS, but he does cost 5,600. I mean, if I'm taking a stab at one of these other Boston defensemen, it's probably John Moore. Gets power play time, should see 20 minutes, and is just 3,100 on DK. So just an okay punt, and that's really all I have to say about that. I don't have any hot goalie takes in any of the games. You guys kind of know my deal with goalie. It's whoever fits, correlated, uncorrelated. I've gotten a little bit away from forcing in correlated goalies this season. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do tonight. I'll probably have a little bit of both correlated and uncorrelated. Anderson at 8,300. He's been awesome this year, and he's favored, and he's at home, so he's kind of earned that price. Halak, I'm not really wild about, but he does make it pretty cheap if you think that Boston can win this game and you are stacking a Boston line. Osmo seems to almost never correlate goalies. Yeah, from what he doesn't tell me what he does, but just from looking at his lineups, he doesn't correlate very often at all. I guess just trying to pick his brain here, I would guess it's just because you're kind of putting yourself into a box when you're correlating goalies, you know, goalie's super random for the most part, ton of variance in it. So if he can catch that one goalie, even if the team you're stacking, you get the stack that go off, like the goalie in your stack, even if they get the win, could score like 6.8 DK points, giving up 2 goals. Whereas Osimo, I'm sure, is trying to capture the guy who gets 35 saves and allows 1 or 0 goals type of thing. So he's just trying to get exposure all around. And you do get yourself into a little bit of trouble, I think, when you correlate. And that's something that I've gotten away from, like I said, like forcing it in. So I don't want to make rules on Fantasy Cruncher where I'm just forcing in a goalie. If it happens, I'm not going to like X out a goalie because he is, or the cheapest. Exactly. Always got to play the best goalie. Not necessarily the best goalie. I think you just want to give yourself a chance if you're multi-entering to have exposure to one of the top 2 or 3 scoring goalies. And that's why I limit my exposure all around and haven't been correlating as much. Correlation with empty netters and win bonus is really strong, though, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not, just because Osimo does something doesn't mean that you have to. He's very good at NHL. I know Tom, our COO, I believe he is. Anyways, he's one of the top guys at the company, along with Osimo, Tom JK. He correlates his goalies, I think, exclusively. So it just depends on the player. I know, like Colin Drew, I think he correlates his goalies when he plays NHL. I know a lot of some of the really good guys at Daily Roto always correlate, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, they do it for a reason. So I haven't run the numbers. I mean, you can do it either way. Not saying my way's right, not saying their way's wrong at all. Play the dog, it gets shelled and pulls out a 2% shutty. Yeah, you're trying to get exposure to those guys for sure. All right, let's see. I just got a message from Nolan. Let's see if he's going to hop on here. You can also run 4-3-1 and correlate the one-off D with the goalie. Yep, you can absolutely do that. I don't know if Osmo's doing that intentionally. I'd have to ask him, but if you're doing what he's doing and trying to replicate that, you're probably doing something right. So that's what I would say. All right, let's see if we can get Nolan on here. D-man usually gets a lot of block shots with the goalie. It'd be an interesting study to have. All right, I'm going to take you guys off the camera so you can't see Nolan's Skype name. Not that any of you would call him, but who knows? We're just going to be the Osmo logo right now. Oh, double me. Look at that. Let's see if we can get Nolan. Oh, he says he's not online. This is great production here by me. Yeah, nice close-up on my face. Boom. Yeah, it's great. Great stuff. I'm sure that's what the people want. You get AAA. Oh, thanks, Boom.
What's happening?
All right, there you are. Okay, we're good. We're good. We are on right now, by the way, if you didn't know that. So I just went through LOL. Okay. All right. So I just went through the Boston Toronto game. Do you want to just hit on that quickly? You got anything that we should know?
News and notes wise, Kapanen's on the first power play unit replacing Marlowe. And I kind of like this spot for Toronto. I don't know what your thoughts were, but it just seems like people are going to look at that, especially on DraftKings where you have that big red number beside it. With Patrice Bergeron out, you have to give their offense a bit of an uptick. Chara out as well. So I kind of think that that's a bit, maybe might go a little bit underowned. But yeah, I don't hate either of the Toronto top two lines.
Yeah. I really like the top one. So I'm with
Yeah.
you there. I think definitely a boost without Bergeron on there, of course. All right. So got anything else on this game before we move on?
I think that is it.
Sweet.
Yeah, wasn't a lot today.
Okay.
News and
Yeah, I
notes.
saw there wasn't a ton, but still have some nuggets, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, the Devils and the Florida Panthers. We have a 3 implied total for the Devils, 3.4 for the Panthers. Keith Kincaid going up against James Reimer here. Some news or some changes, I think, on the Florida side, specifically that second line. Um, what did you have on this game, Nolan, as far as news and notes goes?
So yeah, Frank Vetrano is on the second line. I think he was on their last game as well. The top line is obviously stacked. Hoffman's very expensive, so it's kind of difficult to fit him in. He's not a great value. I like what I like in this game. I don't know, like we have two of the highest shot total teams in the NHL going up against each other tonight. So I kind of like maybe taking one of the goalies and sort of for GPPs, like James Reimer is pretty cheap on DK at $7,200. He's probably going to face a fair amount of shots. And then you could also take the other side with Kincaid, with Trocheck out. Their offense is probably not going to be as strong. So maybe just like sort of mixing and matching those two in might give you're at least going to get a lot of shots. And then hopefully you can, hopefully get less than whatever 2 goals in a win.
For sure. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that call. Certainly, I don't think either guy's going to have an issue seeing volume for the prices.
Yeah.
The Devils' numbers defensively, as far as shot suppression go, are pretty poor on the road. And yeah, Reimer's $7,200 and a home favorite, so it doesn't really get much better than that as far as a guy that's going to come up for value. What's the
Absolutely. I think he's grading out really well in Osmo's grades too.
Sure.
It's one of our top goalie options.
Yep, and we're gonna see Barkov go up against Taylor Hall, Heischer, and Palmieri, and then the Bukestad line will probably see the most time against Zaka, Johansson, and Jesper Bratt. So that's how it's gonna go for matchups. The Barkov line has been pretty poor defensively, but Heischer, Hall, Palmieri is not stout defensively either. So I think there's gonna be a lot of chances both ways. Those are the two lines I want to target. I'm not getting a bunch of either side of it, and that kind of worries me with the 6.5 total. I think we could see Florida one be one of the higher owned lines of the night, probably a top 3, I think, easily, but they could be the highest owned line of the night. What do you think about ownership in this game?
That's funny. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be that highly owned, but you could be right. I mean, people just for whatever reason love to roster this Florida line. So, let me just see. We got yeah, Hoffman's just so pricey right now that I thought that would scare people off. But I mean, I guess the other flip side of that is you're going to see a lot less people. Normally, like if people want to roster Florida, there's a little bit of a split between which of those top two lines you go after. Obviously, that's not the case with Trocheck out. I think the Bugstad Vetrano weakens that line a lot. So you're probably going to see more of that concentrate on Florida one for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree with no Trocheck. It's clear who the top line is and who the best line is, type of thing. So I actually don't mind this second line, the Bukestad, Huberdeau, and Vetrano. I really like Vetrano up there. He's a good value. And I don't mind playing Bukestad for 4K. It looks like this line is grading out really well in Osmos grades as well. And then their even strength matchup, if they do indeed see a lot of time against New Jersey 2, that line's giving up 14.4 high danger chances against per 60. So for sure a bump for the Florida second line. It's not in the same price range as the top line, so I wouldn't say it's like a pivot. But if you are going with an expensive line elsewhere, I think that the second line for Florida is a really, really good value in a game with a 6.5 total.
That's a great point, I think. And you got Vetrano and Bukestad with some correlation on the power play. So yeah, I like that a lot.
Should be behind Washington 1 and New Jersey, or the Rangers' second line, Corsi says. Yeah, they could be. I think those are going to be the top three. If you're talking about the Hayes line, I think those are going to be probably the top three pretty safely. Or at least 3 out of the top 4 or 5 type of thing. You like that second line for New Jersey, or anything you're really high on New Jersey side here?
I think that I never mind like taking New Jersey 1, obviously, in pretty well in a lot of matchups, just because like, you know, they get so much ice time together. They're all on the power play 1 together. One small note, I have Zach is off the power play 2, and he's been replaced by Miles Woods, so maybe a little, not much of a downgrade there. But I don't know. I can never quite figure out these middle 6 for the Devils. So you might, like, obviously with this high implied total, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with going with New Jersey 1 for sure.
Yeah, I'm probably going to stick to New Jersey 1 for the most part if I end up with much New Jersey exposure at all.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time playing them. You know, when these teams that have this stacked top line, especially on the road, I have a hard time playing the team without getting exposure to like the 3 best offensive players. So that's kind of why I'm kind of off of New Jersey 2. And then defensemen here, we've got a few guys that are usable on the Florida side. Yandel's price has come down a little bit, but he's still at 5,800. Ekblad and Matheson on the second power play. 5K for Ekblad, 4K for Matheson. I prefer Ekblad, but he does cost 1,000 more, and I think both guys are fine values. Do you see anyone sticking out to you on the blue line here on either side?
Nothing like in particular. I feel like the Devils rotate their defense pretty easily between those top pairings, and I've noticed lately, but this could switch things up, but I've noticed that Yandel was getting a lot more ice time with Florida 1, and yeah, that still seems to be holding true. And Ekblad is getting more ice time with Florida 2. Okay. So Yandel, like last game, had 16 minutes with Florida 1, and then Ekblad had 5 minutes with them, and then Ekblad had about 10 minutes with them. So definitely stacking purposes, I prefer to go with some sort of combination of Ekblad with Florida 2, and you're also getting Ekblad on the second power play unit as well, and he seems to be kind of playing a little bit better right now as well.
I like it. And then the conundrum with the Devils here is just, well, at least for me, it's that I don't really like Butcher by himself. In a power play 1 stack, he's fine, but still third pairing, doesn't get a ton of minutes, and you know he'll blow up every once in a while for a 2 or 3 assist game. But I'm almost never on him. Severson, his price has come up significantly. He's up to 4,900. And then Vatanen, I would like quite a bit, but he's not on the top power play, so not a ton of correlation to New Jersey 1.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about the Devils. I never know how to stack their D, and it's really spread out as well with their ice time with New Jersey 1. So whenever I stack Devils, I almost always just opt to like fade their defenseman. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's and Butcher is probably your best bet if you want to go for some correlation on that power play.
For sure. All right, anything else in this game before we move on?
Let me just check my notes. I think that's it for this. Oh, Dennis Malgin is out as well for the Panthers. I'm sure everyone knew that, but he's day-to-day. And that's it, yeah.
Oh, one thing, I guess, Pysyk, if he's going to play with Yandel and you're saying that he's going to get a lot of time, Yandel's seeing a lot of time with Barkov, Dadonov, and Hoffman, if that holds true, then Pysyk is a pretty good punt at 2,500 and getting so like if you can't afford Yandel and you're going with Florida 1, that's a way to make the 4-man a little bit cheaper, min salary, getting 20-plus minutes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pysyk also got a ton of ice time with them last game, so yeah, hope for that second assist, I guess.
Like it. All right, Capitals and the New York Islanders. We have Braden Holtby going up against Thomas Greiss. 3.3 implied total for the Caps, 3.2 for the Islanders. Another 6.5 implied total, one of the couple on the night. What do we have for news and notes here, Nolan?
News and notes. Well, it looks obviously Oshie and Kuznetsov are out again. No major changes for Washington. And on the power play, Ryan Pulock is returning to the power play for the Islanders in place of Brock Nelson on power play 1.
Okay.
So they're going with a more traditional, well, not traditional, but 2 defense combo with Leddy and Pulock now. And both of those guys are, I think, Pulock's around 4,000 on DK, 3,900 or something for Leddy. So, yeah.
Okay. As far as matchups go here, we're going to see, my lean at least is that we're going to see the Nelson line go up against Backstrom, Ovechkin, and Tom Wilson. That seems to be what they do for the most part at home. So that's how I'm treating it. That is, I think, a lot of chances both ways. So those are the two lines I love in this game. Backstrom, Ovechkin, Wilson. That line's super expensive with $5,800 Tom Wilson, but I think I can find some cheap lines I can pair with them. So going to have quite a bit of exposure there. And then the Nelson, Lee, Everly line, one of my top values of the night. I think maybe my top value if you go by my projections. So I'm really liking this game quite a bit better than the last one we talked about. That was also 6.5 total. This one's not going to go overlooked at all, but those are the two lines I really, really like here. Where you at, Nolan?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that New York Islanders second line really popped to me. I saw Anders Lee, who's really, really popping in your projections. And I think, like, obviously, if you're going to get a matchup, have you noticed, like, have Washington one's high danger chances or chances allowed changed at all with Backstrom up there? Because obviously he's like seems to sort of have the rep as a better defensive center than Kuznetsov. Is that still, do you know if they're playing high event hockey recently?
They're still playing pretty high event, so it's only 35 minutes. I think they've played just Backstrom and Ovechkin. If you take out Wilson, 35 minutes on ice together this season. They're giving up 73.6 Corsi against per 60. Obviously on pace for that. It's still a short sample, but nearly 15 high danger chances against per 60. So they're still playing super high event, regardless of who it is. With Wilson and Ovechkin, they're gonna not be great defensively. It's not a great possession line.
Yeah, I got no problem with either one of these Islanders' top two lines, but definitely prefer the second line for sure. And then let me just look up D pairing as well here, just in case you wanted to grab a Letty, a Pulock, a Boychuk.
For me, it would be Pulock at 4,100. He's just the highest offensive upside on the Islanders and playing power play one. It's just pretty easy for me there. But I actually, if you're going away from Pulock, then Boychuk would be the pretty clear second fiddle for me.
Yeah, sounds good. Letty hasn't done a lot this year. I mean, I know he kind of put up some pretty decent offensive numbers in his last season, but I think what we're seeing, at least recently, is more Letty, Boychuk with Beauvillier, Barzal, and Bailey, and then Pulock with the second line there. But it's not clear, and it's not like a huge division, right. So you can kind of alternate. But
yeah. Any other lines or de-stacking here that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the usual is just Carlson with Washington 1, and then the usual. I always just like to throw in some Niskanen and Orlov as flyers. If you they're never can always get you a goal, especially with with both of them on the second power play unit.
Yeah,
so.
I think that it's pretty clear as far as like optimal correlation here. If you're stacking Washington 1, you're gonna try to pay up for Carlson, but I'm sure like the Niskanen line's gonna see quite a bit of time with Backstrom, Ovechkin, and Wilson, especially on the road here. And then, I mean, yeah, so either of those two guys, like if you want to go down to Orlov at 4,200, you'd rather have him play with Carlson at even strength, but he's cheap enough where I don't mind him if you're adding him in as the fourth man on the stack. And then Kempny's price has gone up a little bit to where I kind of don't really want to use him. He's a C value in Osmo's grade. I would agree. Definitely a bump down there for him. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have here.
Yeah, I think like Niskanen and Orlov both get around 7-8 minutes a game, which seems to be about normal with the second line, and Carlson's getting anywhere from 11 to 13 with Washington 1. So yeah, that seems like pretty in line and pretty normal with how it usually is.
Holtby for 7,800 or Grice for 7,500. Either of these guys sticking out to you? Both fair prices.
I think they're both kind of neither one nor the other really. I probably won't be going to very much of either of them. Maybe some Grice, just because I think he'll probably come in pretty low owned. But
okay.
Yeah, what do you think?
I mean, we kind of talked about correlation at the top, and while I'm not like forcing in correlated stacks with my goalies here, I think either of these two guys are going to come up quite a bit for me. It's going to be a super high event game. If this goes, if one of these teams gets one goal, you could see a pretty big performance. The problem is the special teams matchup for Grice. I mean, that's quite a bit of a downgrade. The Islanders don't have a great kill, and the Capitals have one of the best power plays. They're missing Oshie and Kuznetsov, but they're still going to be pretty solid with Backstrom, Ovechkin, Eller, John Carlson in there. So it's still one of the better units in the entire NHL. So that's the only worry with Grice, but his price is okay to use, at least for GPPs. Ready to move on to the next game?
Let's do it.
Senators and the New York Rangers. We have Craig Anderson going up against Henrik Lundqvist. 3 implied total for the Sens, 3.5 for the Rangers. I think we're going to be seeing some Rangers chalk here. Specifically, the line we're showing is the top line, so that means Hayes, Kreider, and Philip Hedl. Those guys together, doing some quick math here. Let's see, 8, 14, 15, 5. Is that right? On DK in total. Anyways, they're affordable. You can fit them with a lot of other top lines, and they have very good numbers to start out with in their short sample. Ottawa, one of the worst defensive teams we've seen in years. They're on pace to give up the most goals in the 21st century. They're just really, really bad. Gave up another 6, I think, on Friday or Saturday to Dallas. I mean, they just can't defend anyone. So you've got cheap skaters on the Rangers. What are you doing with them? Do you prefer one of the top 2 lines to the other?
I don't. I mean, I think they're both getting really solid grades as well. So I think, and they're both kind of so they both have 2 players on the power play 1. So I think like just kind of my strategy is just going to be to sort of fit them where I can. I think that obviously Rangers 2 with Zibanejad is 13.5, so that's like you're getting a savings of about $2,000. But at the same time, I do think that Rangers 1 is a little bit better play. I also think like with just the Sens giving up so many shots, the New York Rangers 1 is probably a little bit of a safer cash game play.
Sure.
But I like both those lines tonight, and I think like if you really want to contrarian, maybe the Howden Strome VC line could be, probably less than what would you say, 3% owned, something like that. So that could be super low owned option for large GPPs.
Yeah, actually, I don't mind the Howden VC combo. I don't know how I feel about Strome there, but he is 2,900. So I think I'm going to include that third line just because Ottawa's so bad. Howden and VC play very high events. And then Strome's kind of the wild card there, but I'll play almost anyone against Ottawa at this point. And I play a lot of guys against the Rangers too, but Rangers going to see a ton of ownership in total here. It might be split up between the top 2 lines because of the different price points and power play time for Zibanejad and Nemesnikov, but I'm expecting Rangers top line to see 20+% ownership, or at least flirt with it in large field GPPs. We've got Neil Pionk at 5,700. Going to see a lot of minutes. Power play 1 time against this terrible team. And so you got to love that, even for 5,700.
He's killing it this year too, hey? Like he's awesome. He's taken over and ran with that power play 1 time. So I think Shattenkirk's buried on the third pairing right now. I think as well he's one of the more stackable defenseman on the slate as well. He just continually gets big numbers normally with the Zibanejad line. It's something like every time I look, he's at somewhere between 13 to 16 minutes. So definitely a stack in play there, or even just like mixing and matching. I think like we saw last night with 2/3 of that Tampa 2 line going off. Sometimes you can just sort of mix and match and take 2 and then pair them with the defenseman. 3x3 stack, 3-3-3 stack worked last night for the win.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that in the bottom of your article. So it doesn't always have to be a 4-3-1 to get the bank. Are you? Go ahead.
Sorry, go. I was just gonna say, like, what's generally speaking from like a macro sense for stacking? Are you do you kind of mix and match? Do you let the slate dictate, or are you? Because I always find like it feels like stacking is becoming like full line stacking is becoming a little bit more a little bit less effective lately. Maybe that's just my experience, and because people are onto it. Whereas like I think like maybe just like mixing and matching like combinations of 2 players from 3 different teams might be a way to differentiate your lineups a little bit.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of 3-3 with uncorrelated defensemen or not forcing correlation with the defensemen and goalies, just to try to get the right combo if you do hit on both lines. And then
Yeah.
like I've done the like 3-3-2 or 3-3-3, whatever you want to call it, if you include the goalie, where you're just kind of hand picking the best spots of two or three different lines, and you're still correlating, but you're playing the best plays, but you kind of don't really have to worry about ownership if people are just going to be running out full correlated stacks. So yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah.
And this is a spot where you could do that too, right? You can play Zibanejad, Nemesnikov. You're getting two guys that are going to play the entire game together, and go with Pionk as your third guy. Leave off Jesper Fast and do something else with the rest of your lineup instead of just throwing in Fast because he's cheap. So
Absolutely. And I always prefer doing that like with a center and a winger too. I don't know if that's been your experience, but like taking two wingers and excluding the center seems like a bit of a recipe for disaster. Yeah. So definitely consider taking the center and then just fading one of the wingers there.
I agree. Anything you're looking at on the Ottawa side? There's a line that I really like, but I want to hear what you have to say about Ottawa.
Is that Ottawa 2 there, or because they're priced up, but they definitely they seem to project really well for sure. Yeah. Ottawa 1 I think is a little bit weaker. I know Tom Pyatt's been moved up to Ottawa 1, basically switching spots with Michael Bodker. So it's that has to weaken Ottawa 1. I'm not a huge Tom Pyatt believer. Other than that, for news and notes, we also have that entire Ottawa 2 line is on the first power play unit as well. So I don't have a problem with going there at all. I don't know what you think ownership's going to be like, but
yeah, I mean, we'll see some ownership, I think, on this second line, the White, Kachuk, Stone line, but that's my favorite by far on the Ottawa side. It makes it even easier now that Pyatt's with Duchesne. I don't know how long that's going to stick, but Bodker's not great, but at least he's on the power play with those other two guys. So now you take him off there, it knocks the line down, even though Pyatt is $800 cheaper than Bodker. And I just really, really dislike Tom Pyatt.
It's terrible.
So Ottawa 2, one of my favorite like spend up to be contrarian spots, I guess. If they're going to even be contrarian, I think that price is going to turn some people off on Stone and Kachuk. But in my opinion, they're more than worth it. So I will be over the field on Ottawa 2 for sure. And
that's actually like almost their price point, although it sort of makes them worse value. It's almost that like it's going to detract from their ownership hugely, with people gravitating towards these obviously higher end plays as they always do, or higher end stacks. That's one way to kind of make them a little bit contrarian, and they're not egregious. Like they're not going to force you to pay like super down for a third line or something like that. So definitely a strong play tonight.
For sure. And then my boy Thomas Chabot, 6,200. I think one of the highest priced defensemen on the night, but he's going to be maybe my highest exposed player. The block shot equity is huge when you're playing with the defense that bad. He plays a ton of minutes, plays in the top power play, and I like the line with the three guys on the top power play too. So just all around, Chabot's one of my favorite plays on the entire night. So I hope he goes somewhat overlooked for 6,200. What are you looking at for defensemen? I know I mentioned Chabot and Pionk, but anyone else we should talk about?
Yeah. No, he's certainly he's obviously clearing away the best play. He gets kind of a mixed bag of ice time with more with Ottawa 1 in the Duchesne line, but definitely not. That could also be just because Conway was out last game as well, so who knows? He's been amazing this season. Are you looking towards any full game stacks here?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna force it in, but I'm playing I think 100 lineups tonight, and at least 50, probably 100. But I'm definitely gonna have some full game stacks here where I go pretty much everyone but one player on DK from this game. So
nice.
It's what about you?
I'm definitely gonna have a few of those, and then the only other note was that Anthony DeAngelo's moved on to the second Rangers power play, but he's really expensive. I was thinking he'd be like, I don't know, $3,200, and he's like 47 or something. So
yeah, he's 4,400. It looks like
44.
Not the greatest value, but
no.
Yeah. Goalies here, Craig Anderson for 7,200. I mean, he's my lowest projected goalie by a long shot. I don't even want to recommend him at all. I don't know if I'll end up with any exposure. He's cheap and going to see a ton of shots, so could he pull one out of his hat? And even if he gives up 2 or 3 goals, he could still put a big score because Ottawa's that bad. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't really want to talk too much about Anderson. It's going to be very minimal exposure, if any at all, for me. And then Lundqvist is, I think, more expensive than he should be, but he should see some decent volume with the Rangers' poor defense, and he's just a whatever play for me at 8,100.
Yeah, I agree. He's just a little bit too pricey. If he was like maybe 500 cheaper, I'd be a little bit more into him. But 8,100. I mean, I guess they are like the biggest, second biggest favorites on the slate. So it does kind of make some sense. Oh, they're not. What am I saying?
They are
They're
the
third biggest favorites.
I'm seeing.
And so
Yeah, there's
they're
a
like
few
on
teams
par with.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, there's a few teams that are like right around the minus 150 ish.
So they're on par with Florida. So you might as well just go to Reimer and take the whatever $900 in savings, right?
Sure.
That's my
All right, let's
my
go
hot take.
Let's go on to the last game. We've got the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Detroit Red Wings. 3.1 implied total for the Blue Jackets, 2.6 for the Red Wings. Sergei Bobrovsky going up against likely Jimmy Howard for the Wings. This one is the only one that doesn't start at 7 Eastern. This one's a half an hour behind every other game. Haven't heard much talk. Curious to hear your thoughts here. We're going to see the Larkin line go up against the Columbus one, and then Nielsen will see the most time against Jenner, but it's not going to be a super hard match. Larkin line will hard match, it looks like. So what do you like in this game, Nolan?
Sorry, you said Larkin line will hard match against?
Yeah, at least, yeah, it'll be pretty substantial.
Columbus one?
Yeah.
This is like scaring me a little bit. I don't know. Like, I think Panarin's in the doghouse a little bit right now. He's been moved off of the top power play unit, and he is. I think he was. They won with 5 forwards last game, if that rings a bell. And now they brought Seth Jones back on, so he's on the second power play unit, which is actually kind of looking pretty solid. And like Torts doesn't go with too much huge of division within power plays. Like they'll probably get a 60-40 split. But like just that line was split up a lot last game, and I kind of like I always feel like Torts is a bit of a tinkerer, and he hasn't been that way this year. And so maybe like I don't know if that's coming, but I'm a little bit worried about stacking Columbus one, or maybe just going with like some two, like taking Dubois and Atkinson or something like that, and then maybe fading Panarin and just hoping that power play combo comes through. And also, like, it was Panarin that was taken off that line, so those two got a lot more ice time together as well last game. So something to consider. I don't know. Sometimes these things are fluid, and like it's just a one-off. Sometimes it's penalty trouble. I didn't see anything there when I looked at the box score, or see any major penalties. But yeah, could something to monitor, something to consider for your lineups tonight for sure.
For sure, yeah. I actually, I kind of lean towards the Columbus one side of the Larkin versus Dubois matchup, but I don't see myself having a ton of exposure either way there. I kind of like the second line for Detroit just because Athanasiou is priced down a bit, and he just creates so many chances, bunch of breakaways, and all that good stuff. Columbus 2 is just an okay play for me. So really probably going to be the top line if I'm going to Columbus, or maybe dipping down to this third line with Wenberg, Duclair, and Dubinsky. The Bertuzzi-Clendening matchup, or the duo, has been awful at even strength. So they're playing with Rasmussen. I don't think that's going to make them any better. So like Wenberg, Duclair as a mini, I think is something that I'm pretty interested in. What do you think about that? That's going pretty deep on a 5-game slate, but
Wenberg Duclair, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
I wish if it wasn't anyone, like if they had Bjorkstrand in for Dubinsky or something like that, I would love this third line. But it's just kind of a sneaky like play I'll have a sprinkle of now that Dubinsky's there.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like, for whatever reason, Columbus third line just seems to be. I think you have to almost. Like, it depends on who's playing, obviously, but they seem to get like a little bit more traction than most teams' third lines for sure, normally. Just a small note that Martin Furk looks like he's on the Detroit power play 1, but actually, like if you're power play stacking all for Detroit, it looks like Detroit power play 2 gets more ice time, so that's something to consider as well. If you're it's close to an even split, but more Detroit 2, and that's over the past like couple weeks as well. So
okay, yeah. So the Nielsen Athanasiou, maybe they see a little bit of a bump there.
The other Greek Freak. Has that name caught on yet?
Has it? The Greek Freak?
I don't know. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Greek Freak number 2.
The guy's incredible to watch. I love watching him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Wenberg, not a DFS option. I mean, when he's 3,100 and, Duclair scores, it's a good chance he gets an assist. I'm looking for anything here that's 3,100 and 4K. So I'm not the biggest Wenberg fan, but boom, I think he is somewhat in play tonight in the context of a stack. All right, defensemen here or goalies, anything doing it for you?
I think Cholowski always kind of rates out well. He's still fairly cheap. There's not a lot under 4K, and he's getting, decent minutes and power play time. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't really have any strong feelings about Werenski or Jones or Murray.
Yeah, I really like Jones here. So he's the guy I'll have the most exposure to. None of these punts do anything for me on Columbus's side. Savard down on the third pairing, not great even for 3,300. You want to see him play 20+ minutes, then he's a good kind of peripheral guy. And then Detroit, I just rarely am heavy on any Detroit defenseman, especially when Mike Green's up at 5,100. I think my favorite guy, I agree with you, is Cholowski for 3,900 and playing power play 2. Correlates pretty nicely to the Detroit second line if you're going there. Goalies, we've got Jimmy Howard at 6,900 home. He's not a favorite, but he is at home. Decent, okay chance for the win here, but he's just $6,900 goalie tonight. What do you think about that?
He's been playing pretty well lately. Hey, his last 6 games, his save percentage does not dip below .933, which is pretty darn good. So I don't know. Oh man, it just goes and goes. He's really only had one bad game in the last calendar month. So might be a bit of a sneaky play. I'm not sure why he's that low priced. If he's, but yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind him at all in GPPs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's not a staple of my lineups or anything, but I will have a fair amount of him. Detroit hasn't allowed 3 goals since mid-October, of course, he says.
No way. Wow.
Oh, over 3. Over 3 goals, sorry.
Over 3, okay.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And
then Bobrovsky, 8K. He's got the talent, but I just don't know that he's going to see a ton of volume. So
these are Detroit's 27th in the NHL or something in shots for. So and I think at that price there are probably better options on the slate for sure.
Yeah. All right. So had some technical difficulties, so we probably won't get to any crunches today. We got an NBA show coming up in a couple minutes. Guys, use the promo code CYBERYEAR to save $120 for your Osmo.com All Access Premium Pass for the season. The promo code is CYBERYEAR. I'll pull that up for you. Promo code Hit the Ice gets you a free week of any NHL package of your choosing. Choose Fantasy Cruncher if you want access to that. We've had a lot of people signing up for non-Fantasy Cruncher and then asking why they don't have access to it. That's why you need to choose the Fantasy Cruncher option with promo code Hit the Ice. One last question and we'll get out of here, Nolan. You like Larkin for cash?
No. I don't know. I don't play a lot of cash, so I would say I would feel like there were safer plays than that. I don't know. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't be a guy I'm jamming in cash. For cash, I'm looking for A values. If you're just going by Osmo's value grade, he's a fine value for 5,700, but not someone that I would be I gotta play Dylan Larkin tonight based on shot volume. Yeah, he'd be in the conversation for sure if I'm building an optimal lineup. But
I'd say in that price range, Zibanejad's probably maybe a bit safer play. I don't know how much is Larkin. 57.
Yeah, I haven't done the build, so I'm not gonna act like I know everything. But I'd probably want to get a Hayes, one of the centers from the Rangers side. So
absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with Steve. We will be breaking down the bigger slate. Thanks for jumping on, Nolan. You got any last words for the people?
No, sorry about that technical difficulties here. I'm going to fire off an email to Microsoft.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you at the top of the leaderboard.